Okay, good evening, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me know if you guys can hear my audio and see my screen in the chat box. Just give me a little Y or a yes there, just to let me know that it is indeed working. I hope everybody's having a fantastic evening so far, or morning or afternoon, just depending on where you're watching this. I hope everybody's doing well. But just want to welcome everybody here. Also want to welcome all the new folks that we have here with us, and also want to say hello to everybody in the recording. Just want to say hello to you and welcome you to participate in any way that you can. I'm looking forward to teaching the COT report tonight and kind of going over how it works, the ins and outs. And then I also want to show you, and this will be new for those that have experience with the COT report. I want to show you some other ways you can use the COT report going forward that I think might be helpful. So I'm going to include a lot of stuff today, but let's go over our disclaimer first. As always, I need to remind you about the risks involved in this market. You can lose all or more than your initial investment if you're not careful. So please be aware of how many pips you're risking on each trade, in addition to how big your lot size is, and ultimately how that would affect your account if you were to lose money. So make sure that you're going through that process each and every time that you take a trade. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Let me show you what the COT report is for those that are kind of new. And then I'm going to jump into the journal and kind of just go over the trades for this week and stuff like that. So the COT report stands for Commitment of Traders, and it is a piece of data that is given to us every week by the government. So the CFTC.gov is the entity that releases the COT report, and you can find it right here. So if you just go to CFTC.gov, you can find this report. And this is what their homepage looks like. Okay. So, and then they have a lot of different resources that you can look at. Specifically, we're going to look at the COT report, right, which stands for Commitment of Traders. So if you come over here to the ribbon where it says Market Data and Economic Analysis, you can click on this where it says Commitment of Traders. You click on that and it takes you here. And there's a lot of different COT reports. So there's not just one COT report, but the one that we like to use is this Current Traders in the Financial Futures report. So if you click on this, it pulls up this report, and it'll always pull up the most recent report. And the most recent report we have right now is this one that was released on April 25th, and it's always going to be a Tuesday. It wasn't necessarily released on Tuesday last week. Technically, the report is released to the public on Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern. Okay. That's when you can get a new report every Friday. The way this works, though, is on these exchanges like the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, is an example. All of these exchanges have different participants on their exchange. So these are banks, these are institutions, they're commercial banks, asset managers who have a lot of money to trade. Okay. And when they're trading on an exchange, they're required by law to report their positions at the end of the week. And actually, it's technically Tuesdays. So every Tuesday, they submit this information. They're legally required to submit a report of what positions they hold, long or short, on different currencies and agriculture, commodities, right? They have to release this information. And then the government takes their sweet time, right? They take 3 or 4 days to kind of compile it so that we can capture this information later. So it does get a little bit dated, but because of the context of the COT report, it's not necessarily a bad thing to get data later, right? So even though you're getting the report technically 3 or 4 days late, I don't want to call it late, but you're just getting it 3 or 4 days after it's been sent to the CME and then subsequently to the CFTC. It's still worthwhile information because typically these banks hold these positions for a long time. Okay, it takes a while for them to kind of enter into a position. It takes weeks, sometimes months. So this is a really nice longer term system, and there's a lot of different ways you can trade the COT report. I use it mostly for longer term trading because it's helpful in terms of kind of knowing what the macroeconomic trends are, right? So you're trying to follow what the banks are doing on a larger scale. You're trying to follow, yeah, you're just trying to follow the big boys, okay? Now, is it useful for scalping? No, in fact, I just have to say that right away. You'll probably be very frustrated with the COT report if you use it for more of a scalping type of strategy. So short-term trading, you'll be completely frustrated and flustered if you use the COT report because it's not in context with what the what the COT report was intended to be used for. Okay. When you come into a COT report like this one, you'll see it's a lot of information and it is super confusing, or it can be. So let me direct your attention to what we look at specifically and what, um, like what we're looking for. So again, you'll always come here and you'll see the date up at the top. I like to zoom in, so you can just do a Control plus, and so it's easier to see with the eyes if you zoom in. The other thing you can do is I like to do a Control F, and I like to search for the currency that I'm looking at. So if I want to see how the euro's doing, I just type in EUR and hit enter, and it's going to take me straight to the euro. So I don't have to go find it. I just highlight it with Control F, which is kind of nice, okay? So right here you have the euro, right? Um, and what was I going to say about this? Okay, so you have the dealer side, you have the asset manager side, and you have the leveraged fund side. Each one of these participants have different goals and objectives with how they're trading. The types of traders that we want to follow are what we call leveraged funds. The reason why we want to follow leveraged funds is because these are speculators. These are professional speculators. So they're like you and me. You and I speculate every day. We're speculating, is the euro going to go up? Is the pound going to go up or down? Is the yen going to go up or down, right? That we're speculating that every single day. And so we take what we call outright positions, which is actually a term. So an outright position, and that's what these guys do. And we're trying to take outright positions with them for the sole purpose of just making money. That's it. We're not hedging anything. We're just trying to determine which way the market's going to go. So for example, when you look at this, when you isolate just the euro, because that's all we're looking at, it's not a currency pair, we're just looking at the euro only. Right now, these speculators have 69,000 contracts long on the euro, and there are 55,000 contracts short on the euro. So there is a bias to the long side on the euro right now, and this can change every week. In fact, right here, this is a nice piece of information because this shows you the change in long positions and the change in short positions from the previous week. So you can see this last week, these speculators on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, they added 3,400 contracts to the euro, and they subsequently, I guess they decreased their portfolios with their short positions. So they don't have as many short positions this week as they do on the long side as the previous week. Sorry. So they've decreased their short positions and they increased their long positions. So obviously they're thinking, hey, this is probably going to go up, right? That's kind of their expectation is okay, we're buying the euro right now. Now, does that mean, you might ask the question, well, why do they have short positions and long positions? Well, because it's not every firm. Every firm is different. Some firms are purchasing euros and some are selling euros. Some even have both in their books. Maybe they have multiple traders at their firm, and one trader has a short position, another one has a long position. But overall, when you look at the collective efforts of all these firms that are on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the speculating side of the exchange is net long on the euro, and that's important. And we do want to follow these guys because typically they're pretty good at trading. They're professionals, right? So what I do is I come in here every week and I grab this information and I plug it into my journal, which is over here. So I monitor this every week, and which, by the way, I give this out for free. You guys can't do anything to it, but you're more than welcome to view this. So I'm just going to put that link in the chat box. If you guys want it, you can bookmark it and come back and check it out whenever you want. So I update this every week to see how the banks are reacting to the market. You know, what currency pairs, not pairs, but what currencies are they buying? Which ones are they selling? And so forth, right? So once I put in this information, when I grab it over here, and I just go to each currency. So I'll pull up the euro, and then I'll search the Aussie, and then I'll search the CAD, right? And it takes me straight to it. And I'm just looking at this number, and these two numbers right here. That's all I'm looking at. Everything else I ignore. Okay, can this other information be useful? Yeah, but it's basically going to tell you the same thing. You'll also notice one quick side note. You'll notice that sometimes each side is a little different. Like, for example, on the dealer side, there's a lot more long positions and fewer shorts. They have a whole different purpose, so ignore them. Asset managers have another purpose as well. The leveraged funds is who we're monitoring. We want to follow leveraged funds, okay? Just want to be clear of that. Okay, so I've already inserted this for this week. So I've got all this information in here already. And so what I'm doing is in here, let me kind of walk you through this if you guys ever want to come in here and check it out. I've got every single major currency listed right here. So you'll notice I've got the Aussie, the Euro, Pound, Kiwi, CAD, Franc, Yen, and Dollar, right? Okay, so I have the subsequent net long positions right here and the short positions. This all comes from the report itself, okay? Then right here, this number or these numbers, this is the percentage of long positions. Okay, so of all the positions outstanding, what percent is long? That's what that number is trying to tell you. When you look at this column right here, this shows you the percent that are short. Okay, so again, to put it in words, if you take the sum, which is this number, the sum of all positions, and you wanted to put a percentage of those positions as and classifying them as short, how much is that? That's this number right here, these numbers. So for example, when you look at the yen right now, there's 56,000 contracts. There's 56,000 contracts short on the yen, and there are 16,000 contracts long on the yen. So definitely a lot more shorts right now on the yen. And this is saying that it's 78% of all positions are short. So kind of interesting. Joe says, hello, Steve. I forgot where you posted your journal on your website or Telegram. So it's just on here. So I just put this together. So as long as you have this bookmarked, here, I'm going to put it in the chat box for you. As long as you have this bookmarked, you can come and check this out every week. Okay. I'll be honest, some weeks I'm not very good at filling it out on the weekend. But I try to come in on Saturdays or Sundays to have this ready before Monday. And then you can come in here and decide what trades you want to take to start the week. And I even put together this, which I'll give this to you guys as well. I even created an actual strategy booklet or PDF that you can follow. So you can actually trade the strategy just following the rules that I've outlined here. So you could trade it this way. And I have a whole playlist of videos that you can watch as well to if you want to learn more information about the COT report. I've got a ton of information about this. So I've been actually using this COT report. Oh my gosh, probably, well, so I've been aware of the COT report for about 5 or 6 years, but I haven't really built a system around it until about 3 years ago that I've been trading consistently. In fact, on a side note, the very first prop firm I ever got funded with was with the COT report strategy. Um, so and I got like 6 different payouts just from this strategy alone. And there's a whole bunch of different ways you can use it. But it's very powerful. Now, I will tell you this, and a lot of you who have used the COT report in the past, you know how it works a little bit. Typically, when you're going to have a good week, how are the good weeks when you have a good week with the COT report? Anybody that's traded it? Usually amazing, right? Like the good weeks are just like, wow, every trade just goes in your favor from just Sunday to Friday, just like straight in your favor. It's pretty amazing. But the opposite's true too, when you're losing. Like when you lose, typically like everything loses too. It's just weird. Like it's like the market flushes out. Like you'll have these weeks of just great success. Everything just works. And then it's just like, I don't know what happens. It just flushes out. Um, and you have a bad week with it. So on those bad weeks, it's important to have damage control and to keep a good perspective and a good mindset because you will have bad weeks with the COT report. And I just want to make sure that you're aware of that before you jump into it if it's your first time. So like Roger says, like, yeah, when you have a good week, it's usually like everything works out. It's pretty awesome actually. But yeah, when it doesn't work, it's pretty embarrassing actually. So when I say it's embarrassing, it's just like, wow, you'd think if you're following the banks, everything's just going to work every week, but even the banks have down weeks, right? They just don't get it right sometimes. Um, so I think it's important to remember that you still have to manage risk. Just because you're following the banks doesn't negate the fact that you still have to manage risk. There it is. That's the comment I wanted to make. Yep. Just because you're following the banks doesn't negate the fact that you still have to manage risk. Yep, that's it. So you still have to do that no matter what, no matter how good your strategy is. But yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. So here's what we're doing. So once you get this information, the way I look at this every week is I'm saying, okay, great. I've got their long side. I've got their short side right here. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking at what percent is the longest currency and what's the shortest currency right now. So you're trying to, how do I put it? Okay, I like to do a sports analogy. So basically, you guys know me. I'm a big football guy. I've got a football helmet up here. I love football. So in football, whether it's like NFL or college football, or even high school football, everybody has their own league or conference or division, right? And so let's say that this is the major Forex division, right? And in this division you have 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 8 teams in this division, okay? And you have Team Aussie, Team Europe, Team Pound, and so on, right? Our job every week is to basically find out what the new ranking is. Who's the top team going into week April 25th, or here we go into a new week, right? For first week of May, who's the top team, right? We're going to find out this Friday what's the next best team to go with next week, right? So we want to find out who's the best team, and we also want to find out who's the worst team. Because the way we trade this is we want to find the top team, which this week appears to be the yen, or not the yen, the Kiwi. So the New Zealand dollar appears to be the top team. Not because it has the most long or the most short, It's because proportionally it has the most long currency. So there's 12,725 contracts outstanding long on the Kiwi right now. And there's 9,562 contracts short on the Kiwi. Okay. So obviously they're mostly long. And it appears that they're 57% long, which I think is the most because everything else is not very long right now. In fact, most currencies are pretty shorted at the moment. And then you look on the other side, who's the weakest? Well, we've already established that the yen is the weakest currency this week, 77 or 78% short. Okay. And then the next guy up is the franc. Franc's pretty shorted right now. You've got the CAD. It's also pretty shorted, right? And so what we need to do is we need to pin these guys against each other. So if I'm looking at this, I'm saying, okay, the yen is super weak and the Kiwi is super strong. So I want to pin those against each other. So technically the trade of the week, which this week hasn't been a good week, just so you know, it's been we had a lot of really good weeks. This week so far hasn't been that great. And like I said, usually just everything wins or it's everything just loses, right? So this week, technically the top trade would be to buy the NZD JPY, and that would be a long position. And why would we go long? Because you're buying the base currency, which is the NZD, and you're selling the quote currency, which is the JPY, right? And as we've already established, the Kiwi NZD is the strongest and the JPY is the weakest. So in order to take advantage of this parity, we must take a long position on the NZD JPY. That's how you would take advantage of this, okay? And that would be like a week-long trade. And that's kind of how the strategy works, is just, and the way I've traded this for years is, and it's just kind of my long-term trading account, is you just basically come in here every weekend and you just put in a position based off of what's the most bought currency, take the weakest currency and the most bought currency, pin them together, and that's your trade, right? Now you can diversify a little bit, so you don't have to just take the number one currency pair. What's another good example? So maybe we take the Kiwi again and pin it against the franc. So the NZD franc would be another example, which would be another buy, NZD franc long. And then maybe you take the Kiwi again, pin it against the CAD because the CAD is pretty short. So that would be the NZD CAD, NZD CAD, and that would also be a long position, right? Now let's take the euro, because the euro is also pretty long right now, right? So you take the euro, pin it against the yen. So the euro JPY long would make sense. Let's do euro against franc. So euro franc long would make sense, and then euro against CAD. So euro CAD long would be the trade. Okay, and we can go see how these have performed this week. So far, like I said, this week hasn't been, at least I know the NZD yen, NZD franc, and euro franc, those have not been great trades this week. But let's go see just how they've performed. You can see in prior weeks we've had some really good weeks, like right here on April 11th, the week after April 11th, I made 520 pips. And every single trade was a winner. 70 pips here, 80 pips on this one, 11 pips here. I made 146 on this one, 155 pips here, another 58 pips here. And then look at the previous week. So this previous week lost 129 pips across the 6 different trades. This one still made 147 pips. This one lost 37, lost 45, made 36, minus 124, minus 106. So it's kind of a mixed bagged week. So there were some winners, which kind of helped make it not so bad. But again, I got to make it clear that there are losers with the COT report. You definitely have losing trades. Um, but even though you're having losing trades, again, if you're managing your risk, which I'll show you how to do that in just a moment as well. It's actually in this strategy that I made that you can look it up here. It's kind of nice. Anyway, and then you're basically just letting your trades go. In fact, I actually don't even use a take profit with this strategy, which seems kind of crazy, right? It's a no take profit strategy. It has a timed take profit. So what that means is you're basically taking trades at the start of the week and you're holding them all week long. If they're in a loss, they are in a loss. If they're in a profit, they're in profit. And then, if you get to Friday and they're still in profit, you just close them out Friday afternoon, close to the close. You just close everything for what they're worth. If you're up 520 pips, great. You take a 520 pip profit and you close everything out. If they've closed out during the week because they hit their stop losses, well, then they close out. And whatever you have left on Friday, you close whatever's left over. So that's kind of how I've been trading it. There's other ways oh man, there's so many different ways to actually use this, tons of different ways. So, but we could actually go take a look at some of these. Like I said, this week hasn't been great. There's been other weeks that are really, really good. Let me pull up Trading View real quick and let's take a look at some of these. I'll even show you how to backtest the COT report. It's kind of easy. You can just go back and look at each week on here, just in the journal. And then when you're in Trading View, once it loads here, give it a second. You can pull up the different pairs. So let's do NZD yen. This one was a pretty big loser, honestly. I think it stopped out already. There's actually a cool tool. I found this indicator. It's called Weekend. It's just called a Weekend Saturday to Sunday indicator. If you turn it on, it actually it shows in yellow the weekends. So everything in yellow is a weekend and everything in between it is a whole week. So this is a week. This is a week of trading right here. Here's another week of trading, right? It kind of helps orient yourself. I like indicators like that. I don't really use indicators, as you guys know, when I trade. So the indicators that I do use are really just indicators to help me orient myself as far as timing goes. Like I have the indicators that show me, if I'm in the Tokyo or Sydney session, like I have the sessions indicator, as you guys know, this thing right here. I have the kill zone, which I added recently, which is kind of nice. And it's all just to figure out timing of things. That's it. So this one's kind of nice because if you're back testing a strategy that is a week to week strategy, this is kind of nice, right? So as far as the beginning of this week goes, this currency pair actually started off well. At the beginning of the week, it started off great, up at 1.79 pips. Now you'd be down like also 79 pips if you were still in this trade, right? So that's what I'm saying. And it could still wind up being a good trade to end the week, but yeah, so far not so good on that one. In fact, I'm just gonna write that in here. I'm just gonna say like minus 79. I'll have to update this later. So let's go look at the NZD franc and let's see how that one would have performed. Again, I don't think that one was very good. No, not so good, especially today. It started off great though this week. It was up 48 pips at one point and then down. I guess you'd be down about 29 pips at this moment, which again, it's not the end of the week yet. So I'll say minus 29. And then let's look at the pound. Oh, no, it was NZD CAD, that's what I'm looking at now. Let's see, NZD CAD. Okay, this one did very well, right? It's so weird. So this is like the third place trade. So here's the trade at the beginning of the week. Obviously, you get the signal right here at the beginning of the week to buy the NZD CAD. And then here's the start of the week right here in the yellow. It came up a little bit, came down a little bit, and then ultimately you'd be up at the moment, you'd be up 102 pips on this trade. Well, that puts you right back in it. Let's do 102 pips. And then let's take a look at the euro yen. I feel like that one didn't do very well this week. I'll take a look. I don't monitor these trades a lot. So once you kind of set them up for the week, there's no need to do anything because it's just a passive strategy. So yeah, this one would be down right now. You'd be down 173 pips. At one point you were up almost 100 and now you'd be down 173. So that puts you down. It's not been a great week so far with the COT report. Let's take a look at the euro franc. I think that one's also down. Let's take a look. Yeah, down. It happens. Like sometimes it just, like I said, usually when everything works, it works. And when everything doesn't work, it usually just doesn't work. 60 minus 68, minus 68. And then the euro CAD long, let's see how that one did this week. Pretty good, right? So this one came up a little bit, came down a little bit, and now you'd be up 157 pips on that one right now. 157. I'm going to put that in here. So at the moment, had you taken all these trades to start the week, I think you would be down, but yeah, you'd be down 90 pips collectively, which is not bad, especially considering the profits that you're coming from in some of the prior weeks. I didn't put in last week's results, but yeah, this is pretty good. Let me fix this. I'm not sure why that this is supposed to be equals sum. Just do like 1,000. Okay, so this is my net profit up here that I keep track of. So this is how many pips I've made with this since I started using this journal. So I've made 3,278 pips with the COT report since I started. I don't know how far back this particular journal goes. This goes back to 21. Yeah, this actually goes back as far as I used to journal a little bit differently, but this goes back to February of 2021. And then I've got these other journals down here, these other tabs. I don't do much with these anymore. It's just usually studies that I've done on different COT reports. And I've tried to use lots of different types of COT reports in the past, but I've found that the leveraged fund, which is this thing over here, leveraged funds, that seems to be the better data to use. I've had a lot more success trading this information, the leveraged funds. So this is kind of a neat system, guys. And I wouldn't say, how do I say this? I wouldn't say the COT report is perfect for passing prop firm challenge. I do need to be clear with that because some weeks are just absolutely amazing. You'll make enough profits to pass a prop firm challenge in a single week, but you could have a losing week where maybe the loss is so big that like if you don't manage it really well, like you could let that loss go so far that the COT report wouldn't make sense anymore, or like you would fail a challenge potentially. So the way I like to trade the COT report is like, I don't know, if you've got an extra, I don't know, some funds laying around somewhere and you open up a separate account where you only trade the COT report and that's it, I think that could be a nice little income stream. And that's what I do, is just I have a totally separate account, not a prop firm. It's my own money. And I just put in these trades at the beginning of the week, and then I just let them sit the whole week. And it's kind of a nice thing because a lot of this trading that I do is I do that my supply demand strategy where I'm looking for break of structures. As you guys know, that's where I send out all the signals. Um, that's what I love to do, right? I'm hunting for trades every night. This is more of like my Forex version of investing, right? Like it's a passive way to just kind of like just let your trades do your thing. It's not exciting. Like I do need to make this clear. It's not an exciting strategy other than like if you had a big week, like this week a couple weeks ago was awesome. 520 pips in a single week is amazing. Um, and yeah, you'll make some pretty good profits on those weeks. Um, so by the end of the week, Friday, you're feeling really good. And it's like, yeah, that was a great week, but it's pretty boring because you're just taking the data, analyzing it, taking the trade, and then closing trades Friday. That's literally the system in a nutshell. That's all you're doing. So it's nothing sexy. It's just another way to make money that's pretty straightforward. Um, Also, let me put it this way. I have a lot of people who, for some reason, and it happens, like they just can't figure out smart money concepts, or like they just can't find a way to be profitable in the markets. And so at the very least, like if I can't help you with some of the other things that I do, I feel like this is a system that I continue to teach, because it's a great way to at least get yourself profitable. Like if you need to make money and you haven't, you've been trading for years and you're like, I still don't have a strategy that makes money, this could do it for you. Um, but you have to have but in order to make money with this, you have to have the consistency of to be able to and to be willing to do it every single week, because a lot of people quit the COT report. They'll like try it for a week or two. Like let's say they try it on a week where it's like a losing week, and they're like, "Ah, I thought Steve said this worked." Like I thought Steve said this worked. So why am I, and I lost money this week, right? Um, and then they'll, maybe they have another losing week, and then that's enough for them to just quit it and they never go back to the COT report again, right? So if you're going to embark onto the COT report boat, you have to have a long-term perspective, okay? Um, and be willing to take some hits, because you might have I've had losing months with the COT report. I've also had months where I've never really taken a loss. Like I've legitimately had months where like you're just absolutely robbing the market. So it comes and goes, right? Um, and overall it's averaged out. Actually, here's a fun fact. This number right here, I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm highlighting it right here. That number represents all the pips I've made with the COT report. So I've made 8,510 pips, but I've lost this number right here. This number represents the losing pips that I've had. So I've made 8,510 pips and I've lost 5,142 pips, and I've had a net profit of 3,278 pips. So that's my margin with the COT report. So I don't really have like an average win to average loss ratio, or at least I haven't analyzed it with the COT report. What I've analyzed is basically my gross revenue versus my gross loss, and I've got my net profit. That's what I've analyzed with the COT report specifically. So I do keep track of how I'm doing, and yes, it does work. And if you're willing to, trade this week over week, week over week, week over week, eventually, like, yeah, you're going to start hitting those averages too, and you're going to get on that curve, and you're going to start to feel that uptrend, but it's going to take time. Okay, so let's see. Kylan says, what's the full name of the weekend indicator? Oh yeah, so let me go back to this over here. So it is called, Somebody showed me how to do this last week. You go to about this script. Here it is. It's called Weekend Saturday Sunday by Veronimus. This guy right here, he made this indicator. Kind of cool. It's amazing. It's crazy what people have created. Honestly, I just got a side note, like how cool TradingView is. Like people, it's like the social network of trading. Like people get on here, just everyday people, they create stuff that everybody else can use. And sometimes when I think of something, I'm just like, maybe I could use an indicator right now that's called I need something that separates the weekends. So I literally just found this by accident by searching, well, intentionally, I just searched weekend. I just searched weekend. And then all of a sudden you have all these different people that have created these weekend indicators. Right. So it's just crazy how much information's out there. Anyway, so I just searched this and I found this and I was like, oh, sweet. That's exactly what I needed. I just need to orient myself in the charts. That's perfect. It's much easier than manually trying to draw a line. Okay, that's the weekend. Now that's it. It's just going to do it for you, which is kind of nice. Okay, Delta says, are you layering on the other confluences to improve the probability or just the COT data? That's a great question. Not with the strategy that I've created. That's certainly another way to trade it. So I've kept it really stinking simple. Uh, it's just basically get the information, plug it into the COT report, find out your top 6 trades of the week, and then you go to your trading platform, you take the top 6 trades of the week starting Sunday or Monday, and then what else do you do? Plug in a stop loss and then just close Friday. That's it. That's literally the system. That's it. Keep it pretty dang simple. Now there are other ways to trade this more. There are more sophisticated ways to trade this, and I'm sure the banks have much more sophisticated ways to do this. I'm just grateful that I found a way to keep it simple, and I'm grateful that I have a way to create income for my clients by participating in this data. Real quick side note, we actually, the COT report lost a lot of popularity probably about a month or two ago. I'm actually just now starting to get more clients to come to the webinar. You know, there's like 7 or 8 of you here right now in the live, right? And then obviously those of you watching this on YouTube or in the recording. For a while, there was actually a cyber attack on the CME. And well, no, actually, it wasn't on the CME. It was on one of the firms that reports to the CME. So they were getting inaccurate data for like a month and a half. This was from like February. You tell me what it was, Roger. Was it like February to mid-March? So we didn't get COT report data for a month and a half. And we basically put this strategy on a back burner for a month and a half. It was crazy. And never, excuse me, and never before had we seen that. So they didn't give us the report. It took a month and a half to get back up to speed again. So, and I've been using the COT for like, what did I say, 5 or 6 years? Yeah, something like that. And I've never seen that happen before. They've always been super consistent about releasing the data on Fridays. And now we're back doing it again. Yeah, it was February through March, and it was Ion, the company that had the cyber attack. Yeah, yep. That's been resolved now, and we're back up and running again. So I've been kind of inviting people to come back and trade the COT report for those that want it. But it was kind of tough because I had a lot of new people sign up back in February who were really interested in the COT report. And that was when the cyber attack happened. And they're like, well, I guess I can't trade this, so whatever. But now we're up and running again, and we've been doing it for several weeks now. And yeah, it's a great little system. So let me show you guys how to put in a stop loss. So it's really simple. So on Sunday or Monday, whenever you feel comfortable to get into the market to begin the week, what you're going to do is you are going to come to the COT report journal and you're going to find out what the top 6 currency pairs to trade are for the week. And you can either do this on your own or you can wait for me to update this journal. Okay. It's kind of nice if you do have your own though, because then you'll always have your own. And which, by the way, here's how you can create your own. If you just go to File and click download as Excel or I think you can actually just make a copy. If you make a copy, then you can manipulate that copy however you want because it's no longer my file anymore, right? So that's kind of nice if you want to, and then you would just make a new entry every week like I do. So I just basically copy these 9 rows every week and I just set up a new entry for each week and I just go from there. Anyway, if you're interested in that, I can show you how to do it. But once you know the top 6 currency pairs of the week, then you're going to figure out your stop loss. And I actually have a little strategy PDF that I created here. And here's what you do with the stop loss. So I like to take a full average daily range and make that my stop loss. And every currency pair is different. So you have to find out what the average daily range is for each currency pair. So I actually have a link in here. It takes you to maytaf.net. Let me click on it. Yeah, it takes you to Maytaf right here to their volatility tool. And this is where you can figure out the average daily range for every currency pair. So let's say we're trading, what was one example, like the Euro CAD. We'll type in the Euro CAD and then you just click on the Euro CAD once it pops up. And then you're going to wait a second. These metrics are going to load here. And just give it a second. Here it is. It's the second metric that we look at. What I do is, well, first of all, this metric is showing you what the average daily range is for the Euro CAD for every day of the week. So Wednesdays has a pretty big average daily range. It's 122.6 pips. And then the Thursdays has a smaller one. You could either average all of these. I just like to take the biggest average daily range of the week. So 122.6 pips would be my stop loss for the EuroCAD. And that's a week-long stop loss. So that it seems kind of big, right? But it is, you have to keep in mind, it is it's a week-long strategy, guys, right? So obviously I'm gonna have a big stop loss, right? You can do it this way. You can also be more sophisticated and find an actual supplier demand zone to work with for your stop loss and take profit. But again, I'm trying to keep this super, super, super darn simple. So all you're doing is you're just taking the average daily range for the currency pair and you're making that your stop loss for the entire week. That's it. That's literally it. It doesn't matter if it's at support or resistance. You're not trying to pick where your stop loss goes. This is a totally data-driven strategy, 100% data-driven. It's the only strategy I have that's 100% like this. It's kind of neat, actually. So you're just taking information and just trading off of information. That's it. Okay. Again, I think there's way more sophisticated ways to trade this. Totally. I get it. If you want to make it sophisticated, that's up to you. And you might be able, and not might, you totally can find a way to make this even better than the way I have it. To me, this is one of those things where I'm like, it works, so I don't want to break it. It's worked for me trading it this way, so everybody else trade it the same way. So, you take this. So what you would do is you'd come in here and you'd say, okay, I know on the COT report, it says I'm trading the EuroCAD this week. It's going to be a long position. Okay. I'm going to take that position, but I need a 122.6 pip stop loss. And then don't use a take profit. Just let the trade go. If you want to, you could maybe use a trailing stop. I don't, but if you want to use a trailing stop, you could on this strategy. And then basically just Friday, if the trade is still open and it's profitable, just go ahead and close it Friday. That's it. So, and all of that's also detailed right here. Like the take profits detailed. So it says I close my trades between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern. So I do this to allow a full weekly exposure to the market. This gives me this gives my trades a full week's worth of opportunity with the banks. So, all right. All right, guys, I think that's about it. One other thing that I've been researching, for those of you that have been trading the COT report for a while, I follow a guy, you maybe have seen him on YouTube. He's a friend of mine. His name's Trader Nick. His company's A1 Trading. They're in Atlanta. They actually use the COT report quite a bit. In fact, a lot of the way they trade the COT report inspired me to trade the COT report. So if you're like a COT report person and you're like, this is what I'm going to do, you're going to make this your system. I would recommend them just because I like to point out quality when I see it. They are a competitor of mine, but I'm going to send you there just because I think they're great. Obviously, I hope you stick around here and you use my system too, but A1 Trading on YouTube, you can look it up, and they have lots of different videos on the COT report that you can look at. And let's see what I was going to say about them. Let's see, I was going to say, I don't know if they have an exact strategy. They try to sell you an indicator just so you know, like beforehand. I don't use it. I haven't bought their indicator, so I don't know if it's worth it because I have this and it's free, right? And this has worked just perfect for me. But one of the things, oh, this is what I'm going to say. One of the things that they're actually doing right now, they're developing this, and I thought about making this on my own as well, is supposedly when the banks get super not over leveraged but super biased, like, so for example with this JPY, when they start to get really pushed a certain direction, that's when you actually want to be a little more cautious about following the banks. So when they start piling into a certain trade aggressively, that's when you might actually want to consider not following the banks. Anyway, that's something I'm learning right now, and I'm trying to figure out how to maybe save us a few losses and maybe get us in the right direction instead. So for example, with the yen right now, because it's so biased, 78% short, it might be worth considering maybe not selling the yen, right? Anyway, I haven't changed my rules yet. I'm just letting you know that's something that I'm also researching right now because they're doing it and it seems to be working. So that's something I'm looking into. But for now, I don't want to overload you with too much information. So just have the confidence, if you're willing to get on the COT report boat, just have the confidence to trade it the way I've set this up. By the way, if you do want me to send you this PDF of the COT report, just send me an email or text me on Telegram, because either I can attach it on Telegram and send it to you, or I can attach it on actually I think I can attach it in I'm going to try something. I think I can attach it into the chat box. Give me 1 second, guys. 1 second. I'm going to try something. I'm going to see if I can do this. Okay, right here, let's go to strategies, COT report, send. Okay, guys, I just put a PDF in the chat box. Let me know if you guys can grab that. That's this right here. It's that's this right here. So If you just want to read more about the strategy from the PDF, you can download that. All right, cool guys. Joe says, what days and times are good for one-on-one training? Technically every weekday. I have on the count on over here, I have my booking page. You can book me out because my calendar fills, like I have my calendar connected to this. So if I have an event or a personal event that I can't, like there's no more bookings today available, but there might be some tomorrow. And you just go click on the day that you want to, like there's some openings tomorrow still. Like I actually have kind of an open day tomorrow. So you can go in here and book me here. This is how you can do it. So let me get you here's the link. I'll just put this in the chat box right there. All right, guys. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. And again, my last thought was, and it's so important, if you're going to trade the COT report, it has to be I would say you need to give it at least a month. Okay. A week or 2 weeks is not going to cut it because those could be losing weeks, right? I think because in a month, you're likely to have several losing trades, but you're also likely to have several winning trades in a month. So I think a month's at least enough to give it a fair evaluation. Okay. And if it's not for you after a month, at least you discover that it's not good for you. So just make sure that it is something that you're committed to do every Sunday or Monday, and then just let sit and then set an alarm on Fridays that you'll close everything. If you can do that for a month, then I think it's worth trading. All right, guys, appreciate your attendance today. Thanks for coming. I'm going to work on sending out some signals right now with my supply demand stuff. So keep an eye out in the Telegram channel, and we'll see you guys tomorrow on the live trading. Thanks for coming.